So I think what makes a student visa interviews really stressful is not just the interview questions that you have to prepare, but I think it's the big fat list of all the documents that you need to carry with you, right? It can be really stressful to figure out what are all the documents I need and hey, whether I have kept all the right documents in place or not. And when the visa officer starts asking you all those questions, you want to quickly take out the right document and show it to him. And I think that's one of the really scary part of the visa interviews. So I know it's that time of the year when people are preparing for their student visa interviews, and we have already done a couple of videos around strategies or tips for cracking those visa interviews and how to book the slots, etc. But I think I'd missed out on one important subject, and that is this: all the documents, all the must-have documents that you need for F1 student visa interview. So that's what I want to cover in today's video. It's the big checklist of all important documents you need to carry with you in the visa appointment. And I'm going to give you a bonus thing here. We are going to talk about the financial documents in detail, because I believe that's where all the question comes from. People are really confused about, hey, how much funding do I need to show? How do I show those fundings? What are the supporting documents I need? So we will talk about all that. It's a very big subject. So what I've tried to do today is summarize the most important points about it so that you get a good idea of what the visa officer is looking for and what kind of documents are really important for you. So let's get into it. Alright, so before we begin, I hope you have already subscribed to the channel, and today we are talking about student visa documents for US. And before we officially start talking about the documents, one tip that really helped me when I was applying for my student visa is this thing, which I'm going to share with you right now. So now remember that you will be carrying almost 25 plus documents. For some people it can go up to 30-40 documents also. When you're carrying so many documents, it's really important that you arrange them well and you know where exactly each thing is kept, so that when the officer is talking about a particular topic and they ask you to show something, or you want to show them something like proof of or justification for what you are saying, then you should know exactly where the document is in your folder so that you can take it out, right? So one thing that really helped me was I carried all my documents in something called accordion folder. So it's a big fat folder. It has sections, and then in each section it has place for documents. So it has subsections. So this two-tier arrangement I found is really helpful, because there are category of documents that we will need to cover, and you can then separate those documents in each section, which makes it easier for you to find whenever you are required to just pull up a document. For example, if they ask you for university correspondence, you should know exactly where that is coming from. If they ask for IT returns of your dad, you should know exactly where that is kept. And if you just have a flat folder with 40 documents lying in there, it's going to take you a long time, and when you start fumbling through the documents, that is when your confidence starts crashing, right? So the key for interview is to appear confident, and that confidence comes from preparation. So we want to be carrying all these documents and also know how to retrieve whatever we need. So I highly recommend you checking out for something called this big fat accordion folder and use that for your visa interview. It will save you tons of effort and hours and just unnecessary stress. Alright, so with that cleared out, I'm going to talk about 4 kind of documents you are going to need for your visa interview. And what I do in this accordion folder is I have 4 sections, and in each section you will keep the document for that particular type of folder or topic. So these 4 kind of documents are the US Consulate Documents, Admission Documents, Academic Documents, and lastly and most importantly, financial documents. So we are going to talk about each of them separately, and you will have a section in your accordion folder for each of these kind of documents. Let's begin. Okay, so the first section or the kind of document is the US Consulate Documents, and this is basically to show the proof that you have taken the appointment correctly and you have followed the procedure correctly up till this point, and that you have a valid appointment. And the document you need for this part is basically your passport, your visa appointment letter, your filled out and copy of submitted DS 160 form, your confirmation of 160 form submitted, your SEVI fee receipt, your SEVIS fee receipt, your Axis or Citibank Visa fee receipt, and check for the photograph requirements. I think whether you need a physical copy or not, because I've heard it varies from consulate to consulate. So these are the documents you will need at the time of appointment itself to show that you have a valid appointment. Second kind of documents is the what we call as admission documents, and these are the proof that you have admission to a valid university in US and that you are eligible for a student visa. And the documents that you need in this case is basically the I-20 acceptance letter from your university. If you have any scholarship from the university, then a letter showing that. And you also want to keep a copy of any correspondence you might have had with university or the professors in there, which shows that you are following the process, you are genuinely interested in this university. And these are the documents that you need to show if the person asks, okay, where are you heading, why are you heading there, then you can show your correspondence with the professors, etc., etc. Third kind of document is the academic document. These are basically the proof of your academic standing, and they show that yes, you are a good student and you will be able to bear the course load of the education in US. And the documents you need to keep here are, they can be basically the original score report from your GRE, GMAT, SAT, TOEFL, IELTS kind of exams, your university transcripts, your mark sheets, etc., your degree or provisional certificate from the university, then all your college mark sheets, basically semester or year wise, anything, your 10th and 12th mark sheets also. So carry all of them. They are barely asked, but you want to have them with you just in case a topic comes up. Last category is the financial documents, and these are basically the proof that you can afford this education, you can afford to live and study in the US. And it's very important because this is where most of the rejections come, because the officer feels that the guy does not have a good financial standing and he will try to find any means of work in US. He may not even return back to India. So these financial documents give them the comfort, and if you prepare them well, then you can really confidently answer all their questions about your plan of returning back to India, and also showing that how you're going to sponsor or afford this education. Now, there are so many questions around here. We are going to cover some basic questions first. So the very first thing that comes to our mind when we think of financial documents is, how much fund do I really need to show for my program? And to answer this, we need to look at the I-20 document. So let's look at this sample I-20 on the screen right now. This is one of the older I-20s, and obviously amount is also pretty low. So in your case, the amount shown would be much higher. But I wanted to use this example because it shows both scholarship amount and personal funds in this section. So, in the I-20, university clearly mentions that what is the fund you need for first year of your program. And it also mentions that how this student is going to afford these funds. So they mention that X amount is coming from the personal funds, X amount is coming from education loans, and X amount is coming from the scholarship or any other funding they might have provided. And how do they know all this? Because even to get your I-20, they ask you for some basic financial documents, right? So this data is coming from there. Whatever documents you have submitted to them to get the I-20, they will put that information in this I-20. So now this I-20 tells the visa officer that, hey, this guy needs to at least have this much for the first year of the studies. So as we can see here, this student has around $17,000 worth of scholarship from the university. So he needs to show funding for only $12,000, right? Now, if you have no scholarship so far, then your I-20 will show 0 as scholarship, and you will have to show the funding for full amount or whatever the fee is for the first year. So now let's go with this sample I-20 case. If your I-20 says you need to fund $12,000, then our thumb rule is that in reality you need to show at least 1.5 times this amount in your visa interview. So you need to show around $18,000 of funding. Next question that we need to think about is, how do we show this amount? Ideally, you want to show this amount as liquid funds. Now, what is a liquid fund? It is any asset which can be liquidated in a day or two. So things like your cash balance, breakable FDs, stocks, gold, insurance policies, and provident funds can be considered liquid. Now, it can get quickly complicated because when you have many assets to show, for example, your father also is not going to keep all his savings in FDs only or cash balance only. He would have some real estate, some gold jewelry, some bonds, some stocks, some mutual funds, and different kind of assets. And naturally, every family has their investments made in this way, and this is where it helps to get a consolidated CA statement made which lists down all your assets and net worth. This is a very standard document, and you can pay any CA to prepare one for you. I highly recommend that you get one from your sponsorer to show his net worth and overall financial standing for the visa interview. So overall, you have to remember two things when you are preparing the financial documents. They should show you can afford this education. This means that whoever is sponsoring you should have enough funds even after paying for your education, because no one is going to put their whole life savings at stake, right? For example, if your expenses are estimated at 60 lakh and your father is sponsoring and his whole net worth is around 70 lakh, then that is not really a good situation, because your father will be barely left with anything if he spends 60 lakh on your education alone. A better idea would be to take an education loan instead. So first of all, you can get tax benefits on the loan, and secondly, loan companies have their own vetting process, and if you have received a loan, it shows that they must have already done that due diligence or background check on you. So this gives the comfort to the visa officer that your finances are sorted out. And no wonder 90% of my clients end up taking an education loan. So there is nothing wrong in taking education loan. I think you should think about it. Second thing you have to remember is these financial documents can also help in showing that you have good ties to India or your home country. For example, if you are showing property papers, life insurance policies, etc., it shows your long-term planning in India, which in a subtle way indicates that you are likely to come back. This is an important point in US visa interviews, because they like to see candidates who have good ties back in their home and are likely to return after their education. Alright, so this is why I keep saying that preparing the financial documents is a very, very crucial step in making your US education dream come to life. Now let's look at the list of documents you need in this section. So let's look at the list of the financial documents that you need to carry with you. Now do understand that every person will have different investments, and therefore somebody will have more documents, somebody will have less. I am giving you a basic checklist kind of thing. So here I think you should have a affidavit of support if you are not self-sponsoring your education. If your parents are sponsoring you, if your sibling is sponsoring you, or some other relative sponsoring you, you need to show that affidavit of support. This is a standard document. Many universities give you a standard template, otherwise you can create one for yourself. Second document is bank statements and passbook of the sponsorer, or your own if you are self-sponsoring. This is very important. This kind of shows your liquidity and how much money is flowing in your account in last 1 year. Other than that, you need to show IT returns of the sponsorer, CA statement for their financial standing, employment details if it is appropriate for you. Apart from this, PF statement, and people can also attach real estate, gold or car valuation certificates, national saving certificate, life insurance policies, copies of any other fixed asset valuations, etc. So as I said, this will depend on person to person depending on their situation. But remember that whatever you are saying that how you're going to sponsor your education, you should have every document to show that you can really afford this education. So that was it. This is a big fat checklist of all the visa documents that you need. We have gone into detail, and I hope you get some clarity on how to prepare your financial documents. If you have more questions, leave them in the comment box below, and also give me feedback on how you like today's video. Rest, I will see you next week with a fresh new video. Take care. Bye bye.